Chad Riley of Deception Detection Radio. Welcome. We're going to restart this and get going. As we talk about you, go ahead and tell the folks about what you do. Why did you get into what you do as well?
Well, I'm a researcher, and I'm also a radio show host with Kate Carswell, Deception Detection Radio. And I've also got into filmmaking with my brothers, Justen and Wes Faull, Fourth Watch Films.
Mm-hmm. I've got the video right here, Hollow Earth Chronicles. I'm holding that up, man. That is one awesome video. When can we expect the Hollow Earth Chronicles 2?
We're still talking about that. We've got probably about 1/3 of the second film already shot. So they are currently right now. Justen and Wes are working on a film for Tom Horn for Defender Films, and until they get that wrapped up, we're not going to be able to do anything with Hollow Earth 2 just as yet.
I got to say, it's incredibly well made, in the graphics and the archive videos that are in there, particularly about Admiral Byrd and various things. It's an awesome video, and I'm really impressed by the quality of that video, and really even the going to the transhumanist and the hybrid age conference. Everything is so high tech, and from a Christian perspective, it always seems that Christians in general have sort of almost a substandard or almost their type of approach. But here I'm thinking, not only have you achieved secular level quality, but have exceeded it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
When you talk about deception detection, give me an example of what you detect as deception.
Anything that tries to point away from Jesus Christ and the Bible, definitely for sure. And any of the propaganda or lies that the enemy is trying to push.
Well, I mean, give me an example.
Well, transhumanism, I mean, it just goes right back to the whole thing about the Garden of Eden, that you shall be as gods and you shall live forever. I mean, that's the thing is, I did a show with Justen that never got aired, but we got pretty deep into the whole transhumanism thing, and there was a church called Terrasim that I'd done a bunch of research on that's actually owned by the Rothblatts, who created Sirius XM Radio.
Really?
And they said that they had already copied the consciousness, the brains of almost 30,000 of their parishioners. And we're talking like, high Google execs and so on, people out there in Silicon Valley. They're all members of this. And they've already had their brains backed up. In fact, they've got them backed up on servers, and they have 2 satellites. They're transmitting people's consciousness out into outer space in hopes that ET might be cruising by and download them like an MP3 and plug them into some kind of a hybrid or robotic body, that way that they can live. And they also promise their parishioners that whether it be 50 to 100 or 500 years from now, as soon as the technology is available, that they will back them up and they will put them in some kind of a synthetic or a robotic body as well.
Now, Google was saying within 20 years they will be able to download somebody's psyche, and as we discussed at Branson, they were talking about nanobots going in there and maybe even hearing people's thoughts and various other things. Is it possible? Do you think it will ever be possible to get the soul or the consciousness in there as well as the memories? Because I mean, they can. I know there's technology where they can see what you're thinking. An image can't be produced on a computer based on what's in your brain at the time. Is it possible, you think, Chad, ever they'll get the consciousness or the soul in a machine?
No, I don't think they'll ever get the soul into the machine. That's the thing is, when we die, our soul separates from our body, and we either go on to be with the Lord or we go somewhere else. We know where that somewhere else is.
Well, we know where it is for us. What about them?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I got a feeling, Chad, they may be going somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They will be going somewhere else, and it ain't going to be where they want to get.
It is getting freaky out there. You talk about CRISPR-9 technology. You're familiar with that, right?
Yes.
All right. Would you like to tell the folks what CRISPR-9 and what it is and what it's capable of?
It's basically a $200 kit that you can buy, and you can basically edit your own genes, or you can edit the genes of your children or whatever you want, pretty much. And yeah, you want a kid to have brown eyes or blue eyes, you want them to have freckles or brown hair, blonde hair, whatever, you can go in and do all that. But they have said that with this whole CRISPR technology, I mean, that's the thing, is we don't know what all the ramifications are going to be. They've already said that, there could be, things that are done that we can no longer ever change or revert back from, because they don't know what all, can or cannot be done with all this.
That CRISPR-9 technology, I saw the video of the woman who co-invented it or discovered it, and she's calling for a pause in the CRISPR-9 technology because obviously, as discussed at Branson, but in my research as well, that at some point, as people begin to generate the type of child that they want, one with the superior intelligence, one with superior strength, that child with the CRISPR-9 technology, the enhanced child is what it will be. They will be in a classroom much superior to everyone else's child who has not done the CRISPR-9 or the enhanced human attributes based on that CRISPR-9 technology.
Yeah, it'll be clearly like the movie Gattaca, where basically all the enhanced people pretty much are the ruling society, and everybody else is just, working all the mundane, low-level jobs, and, all the enhanced people are all rich, powerful, pretty much rule the planet.
Well, Chad, we can't let that happen.
That's why we do what we do. Well, that's why we're doing this right here, right now. Throw as many monkey wrenches in there as we can.
Yes. Now, there are obviously part of that CRISPR-9 technology is that it will go into the DNA and repair. It will go in and repair DNA strands where, say, a cancer cell is. So it seems as if there would be some good components to that. Maybe the Alzheimer's, some other type of cure could come out of that. And would you say that would be acceptable to take the alteration of the genes or the DNA? Would that part be acceptable and just not the enhancement?
I mean, you're walking a fine line there, but I mean, I guess you could say that it would be okay to go in and to snip out the parts that are cancer causing. But I mean, at the same time, the same argument could be made that, hey, you're altering God's image because you are messing with things.
And Chad, I've watched Twilight Zone, and I don't recall a single episode where tampering with this type of thing ends out or comes out well.
No.
Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask, they had a question and answer session at the end of the Branson conference, and Derek Gilbert answered that question, answered the somebody's question, but I had a question which I thought was very pertinent to the whole situation, where Richard Dolan could have answered it, or some of the other guests, but that is the quantum wave, or the quantum D-wave computer of art, which contains artificial intelligence. The inventor of that D-wave computer said that standing next to this computer is like standing next to the altar of an alien god. That particular D-wave computer, quantum computer, also has a heartbeat that is generated by the cooling system. Now, how far of a stretch is it that technology for that D-wave quantum computer to be given to us by either extraterrestrials from another civilization, from another universe, or from another dimension?
Well, I mean, I believe that a lot of the technology that we have nowadays is actually just basically handed down from the antediluvian times. I mean, we know that they were clearly far more technologically advanced in the past than, we are today. I mean, things like Star Trek and Star Wars, that's ancient history. Back in the days of Jared, when they came down Mount Hermon, they basically ruled over the planet for almost 1,300 years. And, that was the thing, is their fathers came with knowledge of heaven and handed it down to them and taught mankind, everything as far as like metal making, war, abortion, you name it. They taught everything. And then, like I said, their children had that technology handed down to them. And like I said, if we went from, being on horse-drawn buggies to walking on the moon, within a 100-year span, how fast do you think that they technologically, jumped leaps and bounds, and before the flood came and wiped them out?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like they were far more superior as far as technology. And as far as the D wave, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, I've seen all those talks where they talk about that, and they even went so far as to say, look, we are sending questions into other dimensions, and we are receiving answers back. So, that's the thing, is who are you talking to, and, where's this information coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Who's sending it?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, I see a couple of people in the chat talking about the Stargate series. How close to reality do you think that Stargate was?
I think it's very likely that it was 100% reality. And in fact, if I remember correctly, I think the CIA and a bunch of the other alphabet agencies and government organizations were all part of giving the information to them about that show.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it just seems that there's some technology that is being given to us. Now, going back to that D-Wave quantum computer, I'm thinking that at some point that computer will be given a voice for them, and I put that in quotation marks, and that at some point, because of the artificial intelligence and their advanced intelligence, they're going to be given the power to make decisions, or we will accept their decisions, what they would consider the betterment of mankind. And frankly, in that scenario, that fulfills Revelation 13, talking about, and a voice, it says, what does it say? A voice was given to the beast, and then it was given power. That power seems to be given by the humans.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the way it's always been. I mean, that was the thing, is that Adam and Eve had dominion over the whole planet and the garden. Mm-hmm. And they basically, gave that power over to Lucifer whenever they, basically ate from ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they basically gave power over to him. And the same thing with you're talking about the voice or whatever stuff. That's the thing, is that, AI, you hear the people that talk about AI that basically developed it, they say that, AI literally broke free like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. They said it's already out there. It's escaped and has broken the chains, and it's all out there in the internet and everywhere else. It's already gone. Mm-hmm. But they also say that, they were creating AI, and AI was creating their own languages where, different AIs were talking to one another. And, the humans couldn't even understand them anymore, mm-hmm. because they were making up their own language, mm-hmm. and talking to one another deliberately because they did not want us to know what they were saying to one another.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about that, Chad. We were talking about downloading the human, at least the memories, which many people are contained in the synapse. The organic matter within the brain, that they're stored, and therefore they can be accessed. Therefore they can be digitized and downloaded into a machine. But if they get to what they may consider consciousness into the machine, think about the fact that then you would have the ability to have eternal life. Of course, in the book of Genesis, it says, God said, the original promise was, if you don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you'll live forever. I mean, there was a statement there that you'll live forever if you did what God asked you to do. And of course, Jesus came. There was the fall, but then Jesus came and he offered eternal life through him. Now, it seems to me the devil has a copy for everything that God does. So therefore, he is going to be offering eternal life through technology. But think about it. Once a person is in that body, they won't be able to die. They will go hundreds of years. And would that not fulfill the scripture that says that men would beg to die, but death would flee them because they couldn't die?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is it also ties in a lot with the, I don't know if you or any of your listeners have seen the series on Netflix called Altered Carbon, but that's what they got into. Is they were talking about they found basically alien technology on Mars, and that it gave them the ability to basically copy the consciousness, and these things they called stacks. And the stacks could literally be taken out and put into any body that they wanted to. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the thing is if you had multiple bodies with stacks, you could literally jump from body to body at will. And, you know, the people that were the ruling class that, you know, were just, you know, rich beyond belief and had been around for millennia and ruling over, you know, the one family that's the main character on that series, they did, you know, not only were they the oldest living family, but they basically ruled over the entire galaxy, not just the Milky Way, but multiple galaxies. And, you know, that was the thing is they could not die. If you killed them, they would literally just jump into another body and basically resurrect immediately.
A question came in for you. It says, do you know anything about the Ark of Gabriel? And if so, what is your opinion of it?
When you say the Ark of Gabriel, are you talking about the Ark of the Covenant?
No, it says the Ark of Gabriel. It says Azur wrote that in the YouTube chat line. So evidently there is something called the Ark of Gabriel. I've never heard of it myself, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that refers to.
Okay. By the way, Scotty Good from our YouTube channel says he has the Hollow Earth Chronicles first DVD. Can't wait for part 2. So, Chad, evidently there's a market out there just waiting for that. But no, extremely well done. And here, let me bring that back up there, man. Okay, I got it in our background now. And I saw you with the Hollow Earth shirt and in this DVD, Chad. There is Nazi symbols on this DVD. Have you turned Nazi?
Okay. Well, and see, that's a great question because we deliberately put those on there to engage people in conversations and to let people know that those are not, in fact, Nazi symbols. They are, in fact, ancient rune symbols, which predate Nazis. And in fact, the swastika is one of the oldest ancient symbols on the planet and can be found almost every continent of the world. So that's the thing is you got to ask yourself what kind of ancient entities were living on this planet that were using these ancient symbols, and how does it tie into the Hollow Earth?
Well, I certainly asked. I certainly asked it when I saw it. So,
yeah.
But yes, it definitely is a conversation. It's definitely a conversation piece because, you know, on the internet, if you engage anybody in a conversation on any topic, eventually one of those people will call the other person a Nazi. It's inevitable.
Yeah, see, like I said, I mean, that's, you know, that was one of the things that we talked about. We're like, you know, people are going to be automatically looking at this and thinking, you know, this is, you know, we're using Nazi symbols. But the thing is the Nazis actually stole it from the ancient Nordics. And that was the thing is when they were scoured, that was the thing, the Nazis scoured the entire planet. I mean, they were into every kind of ancient book, manuscript, text, you name it. I mean, they went to Shambhala, they went, you know, down to the, you know, the Arctic, the Antarctica or whatever stuff down there, base 211. I mean, they were all over the place. But the one thing that they were mainly looking for was something called the Eddas. And the Eddas were ancient Nordic texts that talked about an opening that led into the Hollow Earth. So there was a lot to do with the Nordics and the ancient rune symbols that ties in with the Hollow Earth.
Admiral Byrd's events predated Star Trek by, I don't know, 20 years to 18, 15 years, whatever. But in his diary, he recorded what appears to be a tractor beam. Of course, the first time I ever saw it was in Star Trek episode because the Enterprise had tractor beams, you know, that they would pull stuff in, you know, usually you know, their scout ships. But that tells me that either Star Trek got that, you know, that storyline from that, or that indeed that really happened to Admiral Byrd, that he really was, his plane got locked into a tractor beam.
You're right on both accounts, to be honest with you. That was the thing, is that Gene Roddenberry was just another thing a lot of people might not be really aware of. In fact, Peter Levenda, who's got a book series called Sinister Forces that I highly recommend people check out, he actually gets into a lot of this about Gene Roddenberry being part of an elite class that were in channeling sessions, seance sessions with a entity or group of entities called the Council of the Nine. And he was fed a lot of this information that he used in his Star Trek series. In fact, if you look at the NCC 1701, what does that add up to? 1 plus 7 plus 0 plus 1 is 9. Council of the Nine. Also, the same thing with there's always 9 members on the bridge. There was Deep Space Nine that had to do with a wormhole, with the entities that they were dealing with inside the wormhole. I mean, you could just go on and on about this. In fact, if you go on YouTube and type in Council of Nine and Star Trek, you'll find numerous videos. Even Gon Shimura did a really good video on it as well.
Funny thing, I got to tell you, Gon Shimura. Remember when they were up there? They had the what they call the youth panel there, and he's talking. He goes, he got this television screen is flashing at him. Said, "Your time is keep it short, or your time is up." And that was so funny because they go, "Hey, you're not supposed to say we see that."
Yeah, that was funny.
I was hoping that roving camera would come around and show that light flashing at him, man. But by the way,
yeah, they razzed him pretty good too, because remember they were calling him Holy Troll.
Yeah, that was so funny. Hey, by the way, our moderator Jade says the Ark of Gabriel refers to Gabriel's instructions to Muhammad as mentioned in conjunction with the mass deaths of Saudi Arabia, Russian military operations, secret base in Antarctica. But when you talk about the secret base in Antarctica, are they going to the same place that Admiral Byrd went to? Didn't it say that connection with the underground entities is still open?
Supposedly it is. That was the entire reason why they went down there, Operation Hijack, because that wasn't just the U.S. Navy that went down there. England and Australia and several other countries went with them. And they were supposed to be down there for a certain amount of time, but they weren't even down there barely, I think it was like 2 weeks. And within 2 weeks, they had to turn around and come limping back because most of their vessels had been, pretty well banged up, and a couple of them didn't even make it back at all. So, I mean, that's the thing is, in fact, what was it, whenever we were talking to Timothy Alvarino, because, he had Anton P. Rambla up there with him, who was the gentleman that did all the research on the Chincana, and he was talking about that Chincana, supposedly, they say it starts in Bolivia, it goes all the way through Peru, all the way out to the Amazon jungle, and he even came out and said, that he believes that it goes past the Amazon jungle, under the ocean, all the way to Antarctica. And that blew my mind when he told me that.
Yeah, the underground tunnel. And, it seems to me that they're always kind of running into that tunnel. And when they find a tunnel, they seem to have a tendency to block off the entrance.
Well, that's the thing, is that these things are all over the planet. In fact, we even found newspaper articles from 1930 where they had found an entire underground city out there close to Hollywood, or right there under Hollywood, and they called it the City of the Lizard People. And
again, and that is like the giants. There are hundreds of early American articles in newspapers about finding giant bones, and it really makes me mad, Chad, that the Smithsonian grabbed those bones and stuck them away somewhere. It always reminds me of the Vatican, man. They go around the world stealing stuff from everybody, and they got some big old massive underground repository of ancient history that nobody's been allowed to see because they keep it to themselves when they're not raping kids.
Well, that's the thing, is that the people that started the Smithsonian, in fact, Steve Quill just put out a new DVD and video on Vimeo. It's called The Great Smithsonian Cover-Up. And he actually, and I've heard him and Tom Horn both talk about the people that actually started the Smithsonian, and their ties to all these secret organizations and so on, the secret societies. I mean, that's the thing, is that they are just basically carrying on the work of the Jesuits and the Vatican, because long before the Smithsonian ever came onto the scene, it was actually the Vatican that was going around and building these churches on top of these megalithic structures, and basically going underground and stealing everything they could get their hands on. It literally wasn't bolted down, whether it be skeletons or gold or whatever. And that's another thing why you find these the churches built on a lot of these megalithic structures, is that they don't want people going down in there and going underground and seeing what's there, because like Timothy and all them have said, what little bit you see is just like scratching the surface. Most of these ancient sites, like even Petra Jordan, for example, there's still 85% of that's still underground that hasn't even been excavated. Same thing with all these sites like Machu Picchu and so on. I mean, the vast majority of them are all still buried underground.
Question come in. It says, "Have you seen the previews to the movie Aquaman? And are they trying to tell us that there are entities in the earth and under the sea?"
Well, I mean, it talks about entities under the sea, even with Jonah. You know, when Jonah, it talks about him being in the whale or whatever stuff and going underwater. I mean, it talks about him going into underwater caverns, and Josh Peck, several people have broken that down pretty good, and I think even Tom Horn talked about it in the Hollow Earth film as well. He gave a good breakdown on it.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about him, basically going into underground chambers under the ocean, and that there was basically vault or locked doors and stuff.
There is history about UFOs coming up out of the ocean, even next to military ships, and that's been going on for some time. It seems to me that there's evidence that there is underwater UFOs. What's your opinion to that?
Oh yeah. In fact, if you get into a lot of the abductions and stuff, I'd say a vast majority of the abductions, people that are abducted, they talk about basically going underground, or that they go, the craft that they're in literally goes down into water and takes them underground. Mm-hmm. That's, this ain't my words. I ain't making this stuff up. I'm just saying, go look at the MUFON files and look under abductions about people going underwater. I mean, you'll find tons of stuff.
Yeah. I've got a video that I seen, but I saw you put a link on your Facebook. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. Are you watching the show?
No, I'm just sitting here talking to you on my phone.
Oh no, I was gonna say, man, you could actually watch the show. Just bring it up and just go to the website there, and you can watch it while we're talking. Just make sure the audio is down on your computer. And can you go ahead and do that? Because I'm gonna show a video here.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, the video I'm going to play is about the 38 UFOs that was captured going across the moon. What's your opinion of that?
And that's the thing is, I mean, we're always seeing stuff going on the moon. Even was it Crow 77? I mean, he was one of the first people that was showing the wave that goes across the moon. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff to the moon. I can't say I'm an expert or anything like that, but there's obviously a lot of weird things going on.
Now, are we sure those aren't birds?
The gentleman that I remember reading that shot that or whatever stuff, he had a telephoto or one of the gigantic zoom lenses hooked up and was recording that, and that as if those had been birds flying over, they would have looked like 747s flying right over your head.
Yeah, good point there. Yeah, good point. Yes, because obviously that is it's a crystal clear picture of the moon. It looks beautiful, and so yeah, I guess that is right. If birds happen to get in there, you would have seen their eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if
they had even winked at you, they'd have winked at you when they flew by.
Okay, so obviously we have a UFO swarm. And I would imagine that they're heading to the Earth, and there's going to be a clash here, Chad. When they come, have you prepared for that encounter?
Yeah, I mean, I totally believe that's going to tie in with the Great Deception. Is that they're not only going to be coming from underground, but they'll also be coming from above. Mm-hmm. The whole thing about men's hearts failing them for fear for looking upon those things coming upon the earth. Mm-hmm. And like I said, they'll also be coming down from above as well. Be saying that we're your brothers and sisters, saviors or whatever.
Well, they're not my saviors. Not even my brothers and sisters. Hey, that is not my culture and heritage. Question come in from Azur out of the YouTube channel of the chat. What's your take on the new Space Force? And I'm going to throw in, Chad, have we always had one?
I believe we always have. I mean, I believe that they've had a secret Space Force for quite some time. I mean, with the Hannibal or whatever it's called, the German UFO. I mean, they had that back in 1939. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they already had the UFO technology, and of course, we know who was giving it to them.
Yeah. And Did the United States get more of the Nazi UFO technology than the other countries?
I think we got almost as many of the scientists under Project Paperclip as probably Russia did as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's the thing is, we had Werner von Braun, and we also had Obert. In fact, Jim Mars wrote a book about secret. I can't remember the name of it. If you look at Jim Mars and secrets, you should be able to find it. It looks like it's got a piece of duct tape on the middle of the book. But in that book, he actually he found where Obert and Werner von Braun both had gone on record and said that, we cannot take credit for the advancements in aeronautics and whatever stuff. He said, we've been helped from people of other worlds. Mm-hmm. And they were two of the biggest Project Paperclip Nazis that came over here.
Mm-hmm. A question came in and says, this is from our YouTube chat again as well. What's your opinion of Sasquatch and possibly Dogman alien connection?
Oh, yeah, big time. In fact, I mean, you see that a lot of times whenever there are UFOs, sightings or encounters and stuff like that, for some reason it always seems to pop up. There's some sort of crypto animal or Bigfoot or something like that, because like I said, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And, my whole belief behind that is that, these, with Bigfoot, I believe that ties in with the Nephilim. That's why they've got the elongated heads, and for all we know, they could have extra digits too.
Elongated. Yeah, and that is the thing. And by the way, Chad, I don't know if you probably didn't hear my first intro there, but I've got a picture of that Nephilim head that they had there at the Branson thing, and I've got my hat on that, and so I got permission from Darren Geisinger, man. I said, look, I want to. It says don't touch. I said, but can I put my hat on there and take a picture? And he says, absolutely, man. He said, if anybody gives you any trouble, you haven't seen me. So I put it on there, and I took a couple pictures, and then I went to get it off, and as I was walking up to the head, I started people were saying, stop, wait, don't. And I looked around, there's a line of people, and they all wanted a picture of that head with my hat on it.
Oh, that's funny.
So, man, so it's all about the hat. And by the way, I was caught by InfoWars, man. Ian said, is that what Owen? Oh, yeah, Owen. He goes. I told him I had aluminum foil underneath the hat, and he lifted my hat up, and he saw that I didn't, and he said, "Fake news, man." So that's kind of fun. By the way, I got a freeze frame. I got it on my phone, so I don't know if I get it in the picture. But I heard a conversation. I think it was with Doug Hagman talking about the Branson thing, and others. I think Dave Hodges also said that there was federal people there at the Branson conference. And when here's something happened, Chad. I don't know. I haven't really told anybody, but I was talking about GMO food, just filling airtime and stuff, having some fun. And I was going down the line that was going back into the auditorium, and I was asking them, "Hey, Susan doesn't want me to eat GMO M&Ms," and I said, "You folks think I should go ahead and get them?" I was trying to get them to outvote my wife, and well, they didn't. And so I went to the third person. He was a man by himself. Man, this guy snarled and snapped at me. He said, "Get the hell away from me." And I guarantee you that guy was federal, man. He was undercover, and I got him streamed on Facebook. I got a freeze frame of that guy's face. The anger that welled up inside of him, it just welled up inside. I know that he was not a God-fearing person, man. That he was there, and he was sent by one of the agencies, probably NSA.
Yeah, I definitely figured that there was something up, because that was the thing. Is Steve Quill had quite a bit of security detail there, and that was the thing. Is I could tell by talking to a few of them that they were, I would say probably black ops. Mm-hmm. Is all I could say. They were highly trained, and I could definitely tell that they were packing by the way that they were standing and stuff, and definitely did not want to mess with any of them. So that was the thing. Is I know that he's had threats made on his life, as well as there's even been attempts on Timothy Alberino and his family, as well as Tom Horn, whenever their house burned down and he lost everything. So, like I said, if you're exposing this information, and you are definitely waking a lot of people up, and basically pointing everything back to Jesus Christ and the Bible, that's one thing they definitely will not stand for.
Mm-hmm. And there was one point at the conference that Steve Quell, man, he got so mad. He was so mad. He was talking about whether or not people should step back, particularly for those people that have been banned or temporarily banned from Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. There's going to be a couple of reactions to that. One, you're going to step back and not do it, not offend them anymore, whatever their rules are, or you're going to just forget it, or you're going to fight back. And he was saying that it's time to fight back, because we cannot allow, if we don't fight back, then we're going to end up just sort of like abortion. That, where was the Christian voice when that was being decided, or when liberals began to take over the schools? In the Bear Report, I don't know if you know what that is, but the Bear Report today was talking about the new thing in public schools is to bring a transsexual in there and teaching little kids how to be queer and transsexual and whatever. It's like, who is allowing that? Well, I'll tell you what happened. That got allowed when people didn't stand up and say, you guys cannot be in these public schools. And so he was just saying that we're at a point now with the social media, which is just the first step to having brown shirts knocking on your door, and what kind of future that we all want. So, if we get banned or our tech gets messed with, which is happens a lot for those that are bringing the truth out, I think it's worth the battle. And it is because you have to pay, but in the end, you got to talk to your kids and the future generations and say, what did you do to stop this onslaught, man, in this futuristic nightmare world that's becoming reality?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, like I said, it's come to a head because, I mean, I've been in Facebook jail numerous times. Kay and Justen and everybody can attest to that. And, it's usually over something very stupid or trivial. And they'll put me in there anywhere between 72 hours. I've even been banned one time for like up to about a week. But, that doesn't stop me. It doesn't slow me down. In fact, if anything, it just, makes me want to do even more and come at it even harder. And as far as the what you're talking about, as far as the programming and stuff at the children and everything, I mean, it's everywhere nowadays. I mean, I can't even name a TV show that doesn't have homosexuality thrown in there, and it's usually gratuitous. It's like they have to be like clawing all over one another, ripping one another's clothes off. And I mean, it's like, it's bad enough you got in there, but do we really have to be all gratuitous and just overdoing it on top of that? I mean, it's like even cartoons now. It's like one cartoon that my niece likes to watch called The Loud House. It's got two gay fathers on there.
Ooh.
And it's just I mean, it's all in your face. I mean, it's even in the cartoons now. It's not just like regular TV shows. I mean, it's in the kid cartoons and everything, kid TV shows.
I was watching for the first time ever. I don't even think I have ever done it, but I wanted to see, and I don't watch terrestrial television. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch this Emmy thing, and as soon as they make a Trump joke, I'm going to log off. And the reason I wanted to do that is because, even in the air, they can count how many people are watching. So what I wanted to show was when they make a Trump joke, that viewer went off. Okay, so I was ready for that. So I was waiting for the first Trump joke, but instead, what I heard was them say something like, "The only people that thank Jesus are white people and ex-crackheads."
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the hell is going on here?
Yeah, they've definitely been coming at the Christians a lot harder, and they're just becoming more emboldened. And I mean, they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
No.
It's like we know that they hate us, and that's fine. I mean, we don't hate them back, but at the same time, we're not going to back down. That thing, it just emboldens us even more.
Yeah. Then I think in another part, like a straight white guy comes. They lower him down on some kind of moon, and I noticed he was wearing a seatbelt. I was thinking, boy, that. I was thinking that guy's effeminate. Anyway, needing a seatbelt to drop down. He was all scared. But anyway, I think when he came down, he said, "Is there any room for straight white guys?" And they said, "No, get the hell out, get the hell off the stage." So it's just, the culture is breaking down, and one side of the political spectrum seems to be causing all of that.
Yeah, you're talking about the left-leaning Luciferian.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to get this going to be a YouTube production. I'm waiting. I'm trying to get it demonetized even before I end the show. It already has. If they listen to my ranting points, I'm already demonetized, if not struck off there. But all right, Chad. So there's a lot of tech out there, and I think that Christians in general need to brush up on the coming technology, and it seems to be multiplying, like that Moore's law, which talks about technology doubling every 2 years. And I remember they were talking at the Branson conference about what a transistor can now be put on 5 atoms, but they expect it to be put on 1 atom in the near future.
Yeah, and that's the same thing as Anthony Patch has really done a great job of breaking a lot of that down about the quantum computers and how fast they are becoming even more powerful and stuff. And that's the thing is, who was it? I think it was Gons. He did a video called the EMS, and he talked about these basically not just in physical reality, but also in virtual reality. That they have these M's that basically they can replicate or they can delete. So it's like if certain ones are doing really well, they can replicate the heck out of them, but the ones that are not pulling their weight or doing so hot, they can delete them. And that these things are living in a virtual world. And it said that, what was it? I think he said 2 years in our reality would be like 2,000 years in theirs. And that they eventually would do, that these M's would create their own religion.
All right, a question from the YouTube chat. It says, was last September 21st the biblical description of the celestial alignment of Revelation 12 in the Bible?
Yeah, I'm not a date setter. I don't really get into that, and can't really say one way or the other. But I mean, there's enough road signs that we'll know that when we're approaching the tribulation. I mean, there's lots of different things that have to happen. Even long before the desolation takes place, where he goes and sits on the throne and declares himself God. We'll know long before that. The 2 witnesses and plenty of other things that will let us know that we're rapidly approaching that point.
Doug White wants to know, what got you into this line of investigation?
Well, believe it or not, y'all can all blame Trey Smith for this. It's all his fault. I'm going to blame him for eternity. But, yeah, that's the thing is I grew up in the church. And so, I've always, I've had a relationship with the Lord and Jesus. And, in fact, I'd accepted him back when I was around 8 years old. My best friend was the pastor's son. And then years later, when they left and moved away because his parents became missionaries, they moved down to Venezuela, Costa Rica. And slowly but surely, I kind of started drifting further and further away from the church until eventually I just quit going. And, I started, after the whole 9/11 thing, I was watching lots and lots of what people consider conspiracy theorist videos and so on. And one day I just happened to be on YouTube and I came across this Trey Smith Nephilim video. I'm like, what is this? Nephilim? What the heck is that? Clicked on that, started watching it, and before you know it, I was on there listening to Steve Quill and Chuck Missler and the Hagmans and Daniel Ott and several other people, and started me well on my way to researching a lot of this stuff.
Richard Dolan there at the Branson Conference of Transhumanism and the Hybrid Age said an interesting thing when he was speaking. He said that, I may get this wrong, but I'll get the gist of it, that he felt that the atmosphere there, of course there were about 3,000 people there, and I would say most of them probably Christians. He said that the atmosphere was very healthy, and he felt good there. Now, that tells me that going to some UFO conferences, there may be some folks there that may not lend to that, to a healthy demeanor. Now, I thought that was a good comment coming from him.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing is, most people they think of Richard Dolan, they think of the UFO books and stuff that he's written, but he's actually, he talks about a lot of different things. In fact, one of the things that I really want to pick his brain about, I did talk to him, and he did agree to come on Deception Detection, but I wanted to talk to him about the MK Ultra stuff. The where they were basically reading other people's minds on other parts of the world, and they even got into the whole part where they were talking about they were doing remote viewing of things on the moon, like structures and entities up on the moon. So I definitely would love to pick his mind about a lot of that stuff and talk to him about it.
And I also know that several times the age of the Earth was mentioned in thousands or millions of years, and I appreciate the fact that the audience did not respond to that in any way, like like a gasp or anything. To me, that showed real maturity for them to accept that and be gracious about that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, there's always going to be certain things that we either agree or disagree upon, but I mean, that's the thing is we can all be adults and we can all handle ourselves very maturely. Instead of going like WWF and everybody just like diving in the ring and beating the crap out of one another.
Which is the Christian way. There's the American way and there's the Christian way. The Christian way is if somebody doesn't believe like you do, man, they're going to burn in hell. So I think that pretty much encompasses all Christians are going to burn in hell because somebody disagrees with them. I've tried for years, and it's been a constant mantra of mine, is to allow people. And I talked about this with Justen and Wes Faull, and that is, you can't bring somebody from zero to Jesus in a conversation or a paragraph or a DVD or anything. All you can do is drop little things in their life and let the Spirit of God work with that, and maybe somebody else come along and drop something else. Eventually, God will have His way in their life, and bringing them to the light type of thing. But if you don't, if people shut this broadcast off because somebody, they disagree with the premise of what they're saying or their background, or then the nugget of truth that they probably do have, they'll never get, and they'll be lesser for it. I've always said, just be patient, because the weirdest guest that I've ever had sometimes has some of the nuggetiest truth. Is that even a word? They've got that grain of truth that you can't get from somebody else. So, and it's also having some empathy, like Gans Shimura said. You got to have empathy toward the person you talk to.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what it's all about, is planting those seeds, because, I have other friends, they just, they want to come at you and just want to start, unloading like tons of information. I tell them, you can't do that to people. It's like, it's like giving somebody a slice of cake. You cut off a small piece of cake and you say, here, try this. And you give them a chance to chew it up, digest it, enjoy it, and then if they like it, they'll come back for more. You don't just pick up the whole cake and say, hey, have some cake, and slam it in their face.
It's interesting. Richard Dolan said in one of his conversations with his wife on a program, he said that he was getting hate mail because he started veering off UFOs. And you mentioned just a second ago, there's more. He's got into more things than just UFOs. I mean, he actually did his personal study on 9/11 and how that could not possibly be what happened from any logical standpoint. And it's funny. So his people is telling him, get back to UFOs, and I got mail saying, stop talking about UFOs. So I told him that. I said, you're supposed to keep talking about it, and I'm supposed to stop talking about it. I said, we can't never make these people happy.
Yeah, they do that quite a bit, and that's the thing is like Nick Redfern. I mean, he's one of the big ufologists out there that a lot of people, they enjoy his books and listening to him. But the thing is after he wrote Final Event, I mean, they literally almost crucified that guy. I mean, he doesn't have a dog in the game. He's not, doesn't really pick a side or anything like that. As far as I can tell, he's not a Christian. But the information he provides, he does it unbiased. He's not, like I said, he's not trying to fudge the information or anything. And that was the thing about the book Final Events. After Majestic 12 supposedly shut down, they created a group called the Collins Elite to figure out, what is this alien agenda? Who are they? Where are they coming from? What do they want? And, we're talking like scientists. These are not Christians. They're scientists. And they basically looked into all the information, all the UFO reports and so on. Everything led them back to Area 51. And out there in Area 51, they traced everything back to Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, there were two initiates of Aleister Crowley that were part of the Thelema and OTO, and that they performed a ritual out there called the Babylon Working Ritual, where they basically ripped a hole in space-time and were unable to close it. So that the Collins Elite, their final judgment on this whole thing was that these things were demonic in nature.
And now, interesting too, I think it was discussed at Branson that whether everything that happens is not necessarily of demonic origin, that there, in fact, several speakers said that even Tim Alvarino said, they've seen UFOs. So there has to be another part of the discussion. I've seen many times in our chats where we begin to talk about aliens or any kind of thing, that it's instantly a demon in there. Now, there certainly are demons and there's fallen angels, but there also may be other entities out there that we don't even know. And of course, we mentioned Bigfoot, but it does seem that
I think the part that Timothy Alvarino was coming from is that he believes that some of these are man-made, that they are in fact part of the government secret space program, like the TR-3B and some of those. Because that's the thing is, like I said, we've had this technology since the late 30s, and that's the thing is by now, it should be at where they have cloaking technology and so on, where you can't even see them with the naked eye. That's the way a lot of these UFOs actually are. Even Stephen Greer and a lot of them, who did the film Unacknowledged and several other things, part of the Disclosure Project, but Serious Disclosure Project. They talk about that. A lot of these you can't even see them with the naked eye. You have to have some kind of night vision or something that can pick up infrared.
Yeah. By the way, have you ever done that? Because I didn't want to spend $500 on a night vision, but so many times I've heard people say that if you have night vision technology, you can see battles or numbers of fleets of UFOs coming through. Have you ever tried that?
I have not tried it, but like I said, I've seen a lot of people who actually have invested in it, and they put up videos quite frequently because, like I said, these are things you can't normally see with the naked eye, but if you've got good recording equipment and got the night vision scope to put on there, I mean, that's the thing is apparently you can see things that the rest of us can't.
Question come in for you. Have you ever heard of any news reports of the development of conscious transfer to a computer system? I think we talked about it earlier, whether or not they could just get more than thoughts. Can they actually get consciousness into the machine? And the fact is, couldn't artificial intelligence generate a conscience?
Well, I did mention it earlier. There's a church called Tirasem. That's Terasem, Tirasem. And you can go on Google and look them up, but there's a Time magazine article that they did on them. It has the Rothblatt child on there. And in fact, that's another thing that I'll bring up real quick that just popped in my head about the whole transgender and transhumanist thing go hand in hand. Because the creator who created Sirius XM satellite, he transgendered. He was a man and became a woman, and his wife, he created an artificial intelligence robot called Bina 48, if I remember correctly. But like I said, if you look up Tirasem on Google and find that Time magazine article, which should be one of the very first ones that comes up, read that. And like I said, it talks about them that they've already copied the consciousness of over 30,000 people.
In Las Vegas, sex workers are protesting the infusion of sex robots. And I think from what I read is that there are brothels now where you can go to a sex robot for about $60, and I don't know, kind of weird old moron. I don't even know. I can't even relate to that, either human or non-human. But
did you see the newest one that I posted today where it said that they were going to open a brothel in Houston? Yeah,
a sex robot. Sex robot brothel.
It wasn't sex robots, but they were going to have the sex dolls. Brothel or
sex
whatever.
Dolls, okay, and these are the same freaks that want little kid dolls too. But anyway, so the human sex workers are protesting. They're saying that I guess they're trying to say that the sex robots don't do it as well as them, and they don't have that sort of lovey-dovey human connection, going back and forth. And the whole thing is just getting weird, and it's getting weirder, man. Imagine trying to put a transvestite consciousness into a robot, man. I mean, that thing's going to short circuit. It's going to be so messed up it won't know what to do.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about stuff like that because it's just too out there and too far off the wall for me.
Well, that's sort of edgy stuff right there. I'm just saying, man, it's going to short circuit something, man, when those things, because obviously a computer robot, the artificial intelligence said this doesn't make any sense. Are you man? Or is you not a man, or what are you? I mean, the robot won't know what to do. But okay, so. We got technology coming down the pike fast, but I'm thinking that this technology is giving power. giving power to the rise of the beast, where the Bible says that you won't be able to buy or sell without the mark, but it could also be that you couldn't buy or sell without the human enhancement that they are bringing online through technology.
That's very well a possibility, because it says that you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade without taking the mark.
And interesting, they were saying that if you, at what point, now in the book of Genesis it says that all mankind was their seed was contaminated. They were contaminated except for one, and that was Noah's lineage. So is it possible that the devil's still doing the same thing that he did back in Genesis pre-flood, where everyone was contaminated, and eventually it just seems to me logically that humankind is going to contaminate itself, alter its DNA. And I'm wondering if the DNA from God-given DNA is a marker when you go to heaven, and if your DNA is changed, not human, into something else with enhancements, so to speak, that's the marker that won't allow you in.
Yeah, it could definitely be the thing that revokes your acceptance into heaven easily. And I mean, I think one of the best TV series that ever captured that was a TV series called V. They redid it back in 2007 or 2009. But it talks about the aliens coming, and they open up these medical centers all over the place. And if you're sick or crippled or whatever, it's like, what have you, come down here and we're gonna make you all new again. And that's the thing is, that could very easily be something where they, they might fix you, but they're going to alter your DNA on top of it.
Chad Riley, do you think that this technology existed once before, and that's where we got centaurs and various human-animal hybrids in human antiquity?
Yeah, the Book of Giants actually talks quite a bit about that. That was one of the books that they found in Cave 1 of Qumran in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the Book of Giants, it talks about the fallen angels that came down in the days of Jared, the 200. They didn't just basically take wives, but they also each one took a certain amount of animals as well, 200 of each kind of animal, and it used the word miscegenation, which means sexual in nature. So it was, they basically created all sorts of crazy things, and that was the thing is whenever it talks about these creatures that they birthed, it says it referred to them as the monsters, because it talks about they came among their brethren, the giants, and they basically listened to them, and it talks about the monsters. It's like, well, if they're these monsters and they can listen to the giants and understand them, well, then they have to be sentient. They have to basically, be able to not only speak but probably understand. So, like I said, a lot of people they probably haven't read the Book of Giants or probably don't know anything about it, but it's like the Book of Enoch. It just goes hand in hand, and it just adds more information in there.
That is, of course, the Book of Giants and Book of Jasher. There's a number of books, the Book of Enoch. There's a number of books that were left out of the Bible. Do you believe that they should have been left in?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, and that's you'll have some Christians that will they'll probably burn me at the stake for saying some of this, but
pretty much.
That's okay. I mean, that's the thing. It's important to learn the history of the Bible. That's the thing is, if you're going to read the Bible and believe it, do your own homework and due diligence and actually research the history of the Bible. And that's the thing is that, Jesus even quoted from the Book of Enoch. So did his brother James and Jude. James and Jude were the half-brothers of Jesus Christ. They grew up in the same house with him. That's the thing is he knew them longer than he knew the apostles. And they were all quoting from the Book of Enoch. And that's the thing is that, even Jude went so far as to quote an entire paragraph verbatim, word for word, didn't miss a lick. And he was under the Holy Divine Spirit when he wrote that epistle. So that's the thing is, if you're going to attack something, do the research into it before you start attacking it.
Yeah. Well, that is it. And I think everybody needs to do their research and come up with their own conclusions on various things. But I think the premise should be that question, I would say it is good. The Bible says it's the method of kings to seek a matter out, and if you come, especially with today's culture, whatever you're told, you immediately need to question it because there's so you talk about fake news, man. I mean, there's fake news been going on for a long time. For instance, you could say ask somebody, say like a Christian, you could say how many of each animal went to the ark, and they'll say two, or what fruit did Eve bite, and then they'll say an apple. This kind of fake news right there that started going on in the Christian church. So many things we've been taught and told have been warped. They've been put in there for our control, and Jesus said himself, "Whom the Son sets free is free indeed." Well, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Well, why aren't we getting the right knowledge? And who has been stopping us from getting that knowledge? Well, that knowledge has kind of been unleashed a little bit. The Bible says God told Daniel seal up the things in the in the book till the time of the end. And I'm thinking that many things are being opened up to us as the night is getting darker. The light is getting brighter, and that the light comes through knowledge of the Word of God and what God's full intent for mankind is and our future as well.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's pivotal. It's very important, like I said, to do the research and to basically look into the history of that, because I mean, most people don't even realize where we get our current Bibles from today. I mean, just about every Bible out there, well, all of them, period, they come from the Masoretic text. Well, the Masoretic text was from 1100 AD. Well, it's like you go and look at certain things that are mentioned in the Septuagint, they don't add up with what we have today. Mm-hmm. And people will say, well, the Septuagint, that's just wrong. It's off. And it's like, no, the Septuagint was actually written back in 300 BC, so it's closer to the actual text than the Masoretic or the, it's not just that. Even the Samaritan Pentateuch and the even the works of Flavius Josephus and so on. It's like when you compare them all side by side, they pretty much say the same thing. But you go into the Masoretic text and the Bibles we have today, there are issues in there, like the whole thing where it talks about the Israelites being slaves in Egypt for 430 years. That's totally wrong. That's completely 100% wrong. In fact, Nathan Hoffman on YouTube, if you go and look up Nathan Hoffman, Hoffman, and look at his video that he has about the Israelite slaves in Egypt, I mean, he breaks it down beautifully. I mean, he just nails it. He nailed it right out of the park, and then some. And, I mean, that's the thing is, like, the Septuagint actually said that they were in Canaan, then in Egypt. And it's like they weren't even slaves the entire time that they were in Egypt. And like I say, if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you go and check that out right now and watch that.
What was that again, Chad?
It's a video by Nathan Hoffman, Hoffman.
Okay. And
you should find the word Israelite slaves in Egypt.
Well, I tell you what, man. By the time the Branson conference was over, I had a list of movies I got to watch. It was great.
Oh, trust me, I could blow you up real quick.
Yeah, great. I'll definitely do that. And let's get a couple quick questions getting near the end of the broadcast here. Do you think that the Nazis got their technology from tall whites?
I do believe that they made contact with the Nordics because, like I said, the Eddas were from the Nordic people. Mm-hmm. You get into the Nordic stuff like Thor and so on, and like I said, that's the people that were saying that we're using Nazi symbols. Like I said, do your research, go a little further back, go past the Nazis, keep going, and see where does that take you. It'll take you right back to the Nordics and the rune symbols.
All right, man. Yeah, I got to go past them Nazis, man. All right, question. And here's another one. What's your opinion of the role of the Catholic Church in the end times? Man, those people are messed up. I don't know. All the news is coming through is about their child molestation and rapes and stuff going on in there. But if I tell you, go ahead and answer that question. I got a quick question. What's their role? Do you think?
I mean, I definitely think that they are going to tie in somehow. I can't honestly say how pivotal the role is going to be, but just because of who we're dealing with, and like I said, when you get into the whole thing about the Jesuits, and you find out just how, let's just say how influential in a lot of the things that all the pies that they have their hands in.
Yeah.
I definitely think that they're going to have a major
Yeah, obviously they'll be in charge of coming after the kids. All right. My question for you is: recently they shut an observatory down, and then it came across that it's something to do with child porn. I didn't get that. Are you aware of that telescope that was shut down?
Yeah, it was a sun observatory. It wasn't just that one. There were several sun observatories that they shut down all at once.
Right.
So that kind of negates the whole thing. What they're trying to say, well, it's just a particular individual, and he was supposedly uploading child porn. And it's like, okay, then why'd you shut down about 15 or 16 other sun observatories? Not really buying it, but hey.
Not really
Whatever.
buying it either, Chad. Chad Riley.
Well, not only that, you remember back to the Art Bell interview where Art Bell had Father Malachi on there. You remember Father Malachi, the one that wrote the book Jesuits and the book about the devil and so on. Anyways, they had him on there. He was the head demonologist for the Vatican. He was like way up there, very, very, very influential person. And he went on Art Bell's show and he said, look, he goes, you guys muscled your way up on Mount Graham. And he goes, I will use that word. I do intend to use that word. That you guys muscled your way up there and pushed the Indians off their land and so on. And he said, why are you guys up there? And Father Malachi said, well, we are literally watching what's approaching the earth.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was great, man. I like listening to that Art Bell and Father Malachi. He seems like it was the #1 show he'd like to be on. Chad Riley, we're right near at the end of the broadcast. How can people hear more of what you have to say?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, so just look for Chad Riley, True Seekers logo. Not hard to find. Also have the group on Facebook, the Chad Riley's True Seekers, and also the Deception Detection Radio page as well on Facebook group. But you can also find our shows on Spreaker, iTunes, pretty much anywhere out there. We're on YouTube as well. So please tune in to Deception Detection Radio with me and K-Car as well, and got plenty of shows on there to keep you entertained.
Absolutely. You certainly do. Chad Riley, I appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. Can we have you on again sometime?
You can have me on anytime you want. You just name the place and time, and I'll be there.
Excellent, man. I'm going to put you in wheel call, man, because I always need a quick interview, and you got some amazing stuff to say. Chad Riley, I appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate it, too. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there. So y'all have a great night, and God bless.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody, that was Chad Riley of Deception Detection Radio, and we'll have him on again. We'll have the video. That was interesting. I could call my 800 number, but he couldn't, and the video was messed up, and there was, obviously, they're messing with you. And this show, obviously, we talked about some things they don't want to be heard. So we'll definitely have to have Chad Riley back on the Edge Television broadcast. Next week's guest to be announced. And remember, this program will begin to replay in the main player directly after the show, and we'll put it up in our YouTube channel and our TuneIn Radio playlist. Our TuneIn Radio channel plays archives of all the Edge broadcasts, including all the bear reports. And by the way, you can find those bear reports on the right side of the Edge's website. There's a link there if you'd like to hear those again. And I got to say, bear reports are quite entertaining, and we're just so pleased that bear is part of the Edge television broadcast. Well, that's good.